Republican Senator Thom Tillis of the Senate Armed Services and Judiciary Committees. Good to see you today. Thank you for being with me. I want to start off with something that Senator Graham said, that the president gave the wrong answer when he was asked about this. What do you say?
Well, I think that, again, you have to listen to the entire discussion where the president said that if he thought something was wrong, he would reach the authorities. I'll leave it up to the president to use good judgment. But I also think that up here on Capitol Hill, reporters today are conveniently not going back and talking about GPS fusion, working on behalf of the Clinton campaign, paying a former foreign agent to get information from foreign governments to use against President Trump. President Trump said something today that's gotten people's attention. The Clinton campaign did something that's being conveniently left out of the dialogue.
And what should the accountability, what should anything in terms of penalty look like with GPS fusion and the former Hillary Clinton campaign?
Well, we're investigating the investigation. I had a reporter here take up for the Clinton campaign and say, well, that was GPS fusion. It's hard for me to imagine that someone in the Clinton campaign wasn't aware of the method that they were using to capture the information. But I'll go in with an open mind, and hopefully, as the Attorney General looks back to that whole process, we'll have the facts be what they are. So I think at the end of the day, I do think that Senator Graham's right. I would naturally, the first call I'd make is to the FBI, but it may be that we should have better awareness that should be what we all do when we get information from a foreign entity that's trying to meddle in our elections.
So are you saying that the president should have different rules then?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in this case, it probably makes sense to make people aware that we have a serious threat from Russia, China, Iran, a number of other nations that are trying to meddle in our elections. So we have to be hyper vigilant.
Well, you know, during a Senate hearing last month, Attorney General William Barr said that if a foreign adversary offers a presidential candidate dirt on a competitor, they should contact the FBI. Let's revisit.
A representative of a foreign government says, we have dirt on your opponent. Should they say, I love it, let's meet, or should they contact the FBI?
If a foreign intelligence service does, yes.
And what the president said in that same interview, which is not getting a lot of play as well, in addition to that. Well, first, let me just let you react to William Barr.
Well, the Attorney General, that was obviously a part of a partisan dialogue. I was in that hearing. But what he said at the end, if it was a Foreign Service agent, yes. The president wasn't answering specifically to that question when he was asked earlier today. But I think as a general rule, not a general rule, consistently, anytime we receive information that we believe to be from a foreign entity, we should report it.
So the president, and this is the part that really isn't getting looked at much. The president said that, yes, he would listen, but he also said that he would call the FBI. Watch.
Right.
I think maybe you do both. I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it. They have information. I think I'd take it.
So what's interesting there is he isn't even saying, you know, he would look and determine, and you said use his good judgment. He's saying, why not do both?
Right. And so I think the president, again, people are trying to parse his words because it's inconvenient to look at the entire context. That's why I think the president, and he's got great advisors, would advise the president to contact law enforcement, and that's not what's being reported. But even more so, back to the Clinton campaign, we've got to have that discussion, and I hope that we do after the investigation's done.
You know, before I let you go, the Mueller report, the first 45 or so pages, and anybody can read it, it's on the internet, it's 90+% unredacted there, talks all about Russia. It gives us a layout of how they filleted our political process, if you will. And we're not talking much about that. Your last word.
Well, they do it across the globe. They do it in NATO. I meet with a lot of NATO leaders. Russia is a bad actor. That's why we have to have the whole of government focused on them, and why we need to make sure this information gets to law enforcement.
And Iran and China, as you pointed out. Senator Tillis, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
The Democrat-led House and